pros, I think every instrument player, from Jimmy Page's guitar, from John Paul Jones' bass playing, and the drumming from John Bonham, kicking that bass drum as if he's a horse during a prostate exam, all top notch. And another pro is that there's no track in here where I just find inherently god awful. But at the same time, the impact of that positive aspect that I gave it is quite minimal, because when it comes to Led Zeppelin, I mean, come on, it's Led Zeppelin. Like, after listening to all their stuff, like, they have never really released a single bad track. But when it comes to the pros of this album, yeah, that's it. Presence is definitely their most forgettable album. Like, there are no songs in this album that I find somewhat notable. There are no songs in this album that I associate with this record, like, Stairway to Heaven, Whole Lot of Love, the Wanton song, or Dire Maker. Those tracks that I named, I know which album they were from, and it kind of just felt as if they just looked at what landed on the chopping block from their past records and tweaked them a teeny tiny bit and then put them in a new record. At the same time, as a counter or as a defense for this album, you might say it's a showcase. It's a great showcase of Page's and Bonham's expertise when it comes to their instruments. But at the same time, isn't that aspect just featured in basically every Led Zeppelin album? If it had a drum-heavy approach, then yeah, I might find this album more special, to be honest. Because I feel like, though at this time noticed by the fans, the drumming from John Bonham could have been used more excessively, in my opinion. Like, for example, in the other work from their debut to Physical Graffiti. And the last thing I kind of want to bring up about this album is its lack of experimentation. I feel like in each Led Zeppelin album after their second, the band were definitely experimenting on their craft a lot. Like, for example, with Led Zeppelin 4, they had blended hard rock and then folk and then blues with, medieval elements. And then House of the Holy, they blended hard rock, funk, and then reggae together. And then Into the Outdoors, they had that poppy element embedded within it. But overall, I just find this album to be an overall okay album. A bit underwhelming if you listen to their stuff for the first time, chronologically. It's basically like this, good, great. When we come to the first album, amazing. House of the Holy kind of dumb them down on the quality, but then Physical Graffiti, phenomenal. But then you go to Presence, it's like, yeah. Oh Christ, what a fitting ending for Led Zeppelin, and also what a fitting and phenomenal tribute to John Bonham as well. Like, the only reason I didn't put this album higher up on the list is because, this album is mostly composed of rejected tracks and one live track, I do believe. But how this album was conceived, I cannot blame them, because, following the death of John Bonham, they really didn't have a drummer. And who were they gonna replace John Bonham with? Ginger Baker? Like, they had the best drummer. I also love how they mixed these old tracks with just Bonham being very prevalent. He has the spotlight on him. He is the main attraction. It's so emotional. Like, it makes it so as if Bonham's spirit and just love for his instrument will definitely live on and is gonna live on for the rest of eternity. And although I do wish that I could hear John Paul Jones's bass section a teeny tiny bit more, I do love the idea of John Bonham's drumming being, the main attraction, especially after his death. And you can tell the other members really respected his work and inherently missed working with him. And because of the drum heavy direction of this album, I can also distinguish it from their discography. Like, with Presence, I couldn't really do that for, obvious reasons. Oof, yikes. God, this is definitely the album where I do believe, no, I am certain the placement of it will definitely change somewhere in the future. Because there are days where I'm not crazy about it, and then there are days, especially when I get to, Dire Maker, where I'm like, wow, this is a great album, phenomenal. I like the blend of them refreshing their roster of genres they usually play with. When it comes to their older albums, especially their first 4 ones, to be exact, they had rock, blues, and then folk. But here they had rock, funk, and then reggae. It's probably just my taste in music, nothing really wrong about the album itself, but I'm not really crazy about it, about that combination. In some days I am, but like I like the older combination better. It's probably because I don't go with the rock, blues, folk combination back and forth when it comes to my opinion. I respect its clear direction, unlike a record that's, well, super higher up on this list, but I do like the fact that I could also set this apart from their other records. But at the same time, from now on, I can basically do that with each album featured in the future of this ranking. So yeah.
Good times, bad times, you know I've had my share. When my woman left home for a brown-eyed man, but I still don't seem to care.
Groundbreaking. Absolutely groundbreaking. The word that I and so many would definitely use and are definitely justified to use when describing what this album is, because without this record or without Led Zeppelin, there will be no Nirvana, no Mountain, no Metallica, Heart, Oasis, Cheap Trick, and so many groups. Like, they pioneered this very loud, hard-hitting rock type of rock, and that's why we find this album so special till to this day. And I know, someone, and I know 6 might seem very low, yeah, but I swear to God, God help me, these last 6 albums were literally nearly impossible to rank. With that placement, I can't really justify it. It's just, it just comes to preference, it just comes to preference. I love the confidence of their debut. Good Times, Bad Times is an opener, alright. Communication Breakdown is one of the best rock songs ever made. But I feel like in their future work, they refine their style a teeny tiny bit more and better. And then they also deliver a more yet controlled, diverse track selection. With this album, it's just blues and hard rock. But then when it comes to the debut, it is their debut, so that's why that's the case. So yeah, I seriously love this album to death. I love it to death. But when it comes to the next albums featured in this ranking, I just love the living daylights of these next 5 more. So yeah, that's my take on it, I guess. When it comes to their very distinct style, oh god, oh wow, it got a bit dark. Oh wow. I'll keep it. When it comes to their very distinct style, this is probably where Led Zeppelin, truly mastered it or refined it in a way that just makes it truly shine. Though I'm not crazy about the psychedelic rock of early Pink Floyd, I do love the implementation of it in this album. And my goodness, the Immigrant Song, that is probably the best opener ever in a rock album. It doesn't make you, if that doesn't make you hype, you're basically the equivalent of Dennis Reynolds in that Charlie McDennis episode. You can't get any better than that. My goodness. And yeah, to be honest, that I really have nothing else to say about this album except, well, because this record is probably the one that I'm least aware of because I only listened to it once. My opinion might reinforce itself or contradict my praise of this LP when I go for a second run, but for the time being where it currently stands, it's great. It's great. The psychedelics, the instruments, and especially the vocals of Robert Plant. His singing is just pure euphoria. He knows when to be hard, raspy, but then he also knows when to be soft. And when it comes to soft, this is definitely their softest album, especially at the end. So yeah. God, this album has 90 minutes of material and there's just little to no bloat. I have so many gripes about double albums. For example, Fleetwood Mac's Tusk. It just has tons of fat. That wouldn't really be a problem if that fat was actually pretty good, nacho tasteful good. But the fat is just usually nothing but distasteful greasy sunflower oil that you have to go through to experience the diamonds heavily embedded within it. But with Physical Graffiti, it's non-stop hard hits that just become more powerful when mixed in with the many soft blues that are featured in this album that gives us a break in between those very hard-hitting rock songs. It's one hell of a roller coaster from, you know, Custard Pie to Sick Again. Like, it never stops. Like, after you start the album, like, my goodness. Like, I remember for the first time, I actually, like, it felt more like a 30-minute single LP. It never fails to keep your attention. The only thing that is somewhat holding me from, well, putting it somewhere in the top 3 is just my preference. I prefer shorter albums, somewhere between 7-10 tracks. But seriously, this is one of the best double albums of all time. Definitely somewhere in my top 3 double albums. Ooh, yikes. This is probably the one take in this ranking that will definitely get me in tons of trouble. And yeah, for that, I am not sorry. People give this album lots of flack because of its synths and its poppy element and its very commercial approach. And to counter that, I am going to say this is another example of Led Zeppelin being, well, again, ahead of the curve. When looking at the pop rock scene, you know, like Escape Frontiers, 2 albums from 80s Journey, or like stuff from Jefferson Starship, like We Built This City, or Sarah, and so on, I guarantee you most of the songs from the pop rock scene at that time trace all their DNA back to this album. It's basically 80s pop rock genesis. Like, even with them, you know, and experimenting with pop, they didn't really lose their identity. It's still a Led Zeppelin album. It's Led Zeppelin but with more commercial appeal. And the poppy nature doesn't even show up that much. It only comes until the second half of the album, like from Carousel Lumbra to I'm Gonna Crawl in the evening, and Fool in the Rain, and just like But I do agree with the fact that, you know, the second half can be considered somewhat all over the place, especially with Carousel Lumbra. I wish that song was somewhat cut 2-3 minutes shorter, and All My Love just doesn't belong here. I do believe that, though it is a powerful track, and yeah, it is a song about Robert Plant's dead son, it feels like it belongs somewhere more somber, I guess. And then Hot Dog being a country rock song, like, I love it. Like, oh my god. Yes, you know, it is all over the place, but each track is just so majestic. Like, it pleases my pop rock craving, which just makes me, well, can't help myself to put this album really this high on the list. Led Zeppelin releasing a so much better album back to back after their debut is a phenomenal showcase of their productivity, and my goodness, I am completely fucking jealous. This is definitely where they establish their sound, you know, their style. The tracks here, like, my fucking Christ almighty. The Lemon Song, the bass, like from John Paul Jones, according to many people, the bass in that song is, well, were improvised. Just like, how? The bass playing again from John Paul Jones from that song, and then the guitar solo, like, just left me speechless after one listen. Whole Lot of Love, Ramble On, just so great. Like, oh, and my goodness, like, I cannot do this album any justice by just talking about, okay? You just have to get yourself a copy. Well, if you're already a rock fan, then, but if you don't, then snatch yourself one and then experience it for yourself. I guarantee regret, you know, the feeling of regret will definitely not be a side effect after experiencing this, well, record. And then drum rolls please. Yeah, Led Zeppelin 4. What a surprise. Yeah, their most critically acclaimed and sold album is, well, my top 1. Yeah, not really a surprise. Like, so I got Jesus, like Stairway to Heaven, like Rock and Roll, Black Dog, Hey there Mama. Okay, I'm not gonna sing today. Like, those 3 songs that I just named are not just rock's best creation, just overall music's best, well, conception. The cover and the, oh god, and the medieval elements of it, like, oh my god, Stairway to Heaven, like, oh, like, that song isn't overplayed for no reason at all. Like, Guitar centers basically don't just castrate you for playing that riff for no reason at all. Again, it's overall music at its peak. Again, this is a record that I cannot do any justice by just talking about. You have to experience it for yourself. It's so well produced. I mean, to be honest, all of these are, like every album featured in this ranking are all well produced, but there's just a special spark about this one. And if this doesn't turn you into a rock fan, I don't know what will. Nothing will definitely will, I guarantee you. Like, it never gets old. I actually have listened to this album like 20 times now, and actually yesterday, like, I listened to it 5 times back to back. It was just that good, and like, oh my god. Like, as much as I want to, blabber about, suck the cock off Led Zeppelin, I'm going to stop it here. So yeah, thanks for watching. I'm gonna go sleep. It's quite late now, and I hope you don't get I hope you didn't really get that pissed off with my ranking of these, well, phenomenal records. If you did, then yeah, you can shove all of your complaints, I don't know, in the comment section below. So yeah, I'm gonna do myself a favor, sleep early, and then edit this video. Thanks for watching, and yeah, I think that's it. Goodbye.
Why did I make a mistake? Guess I was too blind to see you. If I had one more chance, you'd be here with me. These blues I'm feeling sure have got me way down. This emptiness I'm feeling inside sure has got me